Alright, hey guys, what is going on? So I'll be talking about the season 2 of Peacemaker. James Gunn directed and led a TV series along with his other show that came out this year, Creature Commands. But this time I'm talking about Peacemaker season 2, starring John Cena, Jennifer Holland, Freddie Stroma, Saul Rodriguez, Daniel Brooks, Robert Patrick as Aki Smith. Yes, man, this show right here is definitely something special, man. Uh, this is, and then for those of you who do not know what Peacemaker is, John Cena, who played in the Suicide Squad movie as Chris Peacemaker Smith, this is his own solo show where he pretty much is trying to create and come up with his own team, and they are confined and going into this organization of Argus team now in this show, but they were back in season 1 made by Clemson Murr and of course Amanda Waller, who was the overhead, who was the absolute ringleader, to pretty much the ringleader and telling all of Adebayo, of course, Hardcore, Amelia Hardcore, John Economos, Vigilante. Amanda Water was pretty much in the first season telling them all like about the butterflies and the butterfly effect and how that would be a bigger effect on the world. And they end up saving the world in that show. Find out one of the main boss leaders is actually one of the butterflies that they end up having to kill, and then they end up killing him off in a absolute disoriented fashion. But nonetheless, they end up getting the job. They end up saving the world in that show. So for here, Peacemaker season 2. Hold on, let me do this real quick, and I'll just read you the synopsis real quick. So in the second season of American Black Comedy superhero television series Peacemaker is based on Ebony, Eponymous character from DC Comics. While the first season is a spinoff from the DC Extended Universe from film The Suicide Squad, the second season is set in the DC Universe, which is a soft reboot of the DCU. And he believes he's pursuing freedom and peace while he is really just killing people. What makes him who he is, and how is his life, and who are his friends. So we picked up right where season 1 left off as far as him realizing who he truly is, and he is an absolute killer. John Cena has a really incredible performance as Peacemaker, and funny as it be, behold, that I end up finding out news that Dave Bautista could have been in that role that James Gunn wanted to fit for him as Chris Smith as Peacemaker, but gave the role to John Cena because John Cena acted his tail off and really gave the part really well. Um, we end up seeing the team, the Argus organization, the Argus team. We end up getting more. Will we bite off more we can chew and what we can bargain because Rick Flag Senior is pretty much holds a grudge, and we see that in the third and fourth episode when he really gets to find out about this other world of dreams, world of this other unknown orbiting world of an alternate dimension and alternate universe made by this black orb that Chris Smith ends up finding. And once he goes into this alternate dimension, he finds out more about his father. He finds out more about his brother Keith and what they've been doing on the other dimension. And he finds out that more about why he ends up killing his brother, and finds out as throughout the show of why he ends up having to do what he did to unveil about his father. And knowing that his father kept secrets from him such a long time, Chris Smith finally realizes in the third and the fifth and fourth and fifth and sixth episode, how ignorance is Chris. Knowing of them being 11th Street kids, out of bio, vigilante, economos, hardcore, and himself, knowing that this was just a trickling and riveting effect. Let me get back to the screen real quick. He finds out more about his family that he pretty much would know. They have their own agendas. Amelia Hardcore, she wants to try to get back into the force and Argus team because she felt like her job was being taken by her other friend Adebayo. And John Economos has to end up joining this Argus team, the team up with Rick Flag Sr. Oh, hey guys, hey, how's it going? What's going on? So yeah, he ends up having to join Argus, um, this police this front organization, task force agency, in order for them to get more information, which could lead to Chris Smith being arrested, and really could be leading to his downfall, more or less, because they end up finding more about these portal and alternate dimensions. While Rick Flag Sr. Still holds a grudge towards Chris Smith of what he did to his son, Rick Flag Jr. And don't get me wrong, I I don't blame Rick Flag Sr. for wanting to hold something, but you really should have went after and went out and went after, the puppet master, but you went after and attacked and bludgeoned, the puppet in that sixth episode entitled Ignorance is Chris. And you saw his emotions and outer rage just got the best of him as he bludgeons and injures Chris without no remorse, takes him in and arrests him, and gets the that round big orbiting force that they're looking for to go and look out and seek these alternate dimensions. Now, Chris Smith pretty much is in a downward slope. He's looking at himself down on his luck. Um, the kids from the 11th Street kids, they want to try to get him out of this slump. They try to figure out, his mind and realize that he ain't really a killer. He ain't really who he is, exactly who he says, who he thinks he is, and all these different things. He's supposed to be the guy that, the fans and pretty much the crowd looks up to and looks at him as more of this heroic figure, but he looks himself and downs himself more as a individual who has his own self endeavors and doubts. Now, I really do love the cameo appearances also that we get from, of course, Lex Luthor, where Rick Flag Sr. has a conversation with him, and he reveals some things why he ends up getting arrested, and why he ends up being in Arkham Asylum prison, I believe. And also we end up seeing Lex Luthor, Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor, his cronies, teaming up with Rick Flag Sr. and Argus team to figure out more about these dimensions. And then later on, as they're having this conversation, we end up seeing Guy Gardner and Hawk Girl, really good appearances from them, and they give further more information about what was going on in Metropolis. Lex Luthor tells about Rick Flag Sr. and whatnot about what's going on in Metropolis, um, and throughout the entirety, I end up knowing more throughout that this wasn't just a spinoff of the Suicide Squad in the first season of Peacemaker. Then we end up getting a long and foretelling intel of what could be the case of what's going to happen in Man of Tomorrow, Superman Man of Tomorrow, that James Gunn is still on the project. If James Gunn is still with DC, because there are things that's going on with DC not making as much money and everything, not making as much bread in the box office. They're losing money, as far as the properties and material that he's coming up with, and he's kind of gaslighting the box office. That's what we have already been seeing, about the numbers. But without a shadow of a doubt, no matter how much we enjoyed the season, a lot of these companies and studios, they got to make money more or less with the project. Now, as we get further down the line in the show, you know, Chris was asking Amelia Hardcore, like, did you feel like something was a thing? Like, I kind of figured that Chris and Hardcore were gonna finally get together and finally, establish ground and relationship at some point, because she felt some kind of way, but she has to be more of like an a-hole kind of character to really protect him, because he gets himself caught up in dangerous situations and dangerous circumstances where he could pretty much end up getting himself killed in the process. And then, like, out of what out of bio is, she is the tug on the heartstring to Chris Smith. She's like the yin to his yang in a sense, and Amelia is more like the one that just doesn't want to fully commit. And then Vigilante, he's like the comedic, punching bag, the comedic joke, along with Judo Master as well. Uh, and then of course Economos, he's pretty much the more logistic, guy to figure out. He's more tech savvy, and more like to figure out computers and hacking. So that within and of itself is something that I would really pay attention to if I was if I'm a lot of people that's wanted to really to get into the show. Um, but yeah, this season was absolutely awesome. This season was absolutely awesome. And then the last episode, as they they were getting to break out Chris Smith, he takes it within into account that goes back and talks to all the 11th Street kids, and they end up having a plan to reinvent themselves and form a new company and form a new team that goes against everything that Argus stands for, whatnot. But later on, there's a twist and turn that we didn't see coming. So we saw that Chris Smith ends up getting halted in and ends up getting taken by some group of DEA agents and FBI task force agents, but it ends up being Flag Senior, obviously, and shifts him and puts him in another universe, more or less, and he can't break out and get out. So now that's pretty much the end of Peacemaker season 2. This show was really, really awesome, man. I don't have any doubts about this show whatsoever. I think this show will definitely continue to reign and live on. I don't think there's gonna be a third season. I think it's gonna be up. I could be wrong, but I think this is gonna be the last season I've saw. So definitely something that I will definitely recommend to a lot of fans of James Gunn and James Gunn's content in the DCU. Definitely recommend it and definitely tell you guys to check it out. It's something special nonetheless. And before I leave, I got a movie review attached on with the show. So I'm gonna be talking about probably a movie that's gonna get slept on. That's people saw at the Toronto Film Festival, and that is the entitled Roofman. Roofman is stars Channing Tatum as Jeffrey Manchester. So let me just read you just the synopsis. Excuse me. Um, After escaping from prison, former soldier. After escaping from prison, former soldier, professional thief Jeffrey Manchester finds a hideout inside a Toys R Us, surviving and undetected for months while planning on his next move. However, when Jeffrey falls for a divorced mom, his double life starts to unravel, settling off for a compelling and suspenseful game of cat and mouse as his past closes in. Jeffrey Manchester, who is an army ranger who ends up doing a time bit in prison for a long time, he ends up escaping, and he ends up meeting this divorced mom, Wayne Cop, played by Kirsten Dunst, and he ends up having to change over his lifestyle, his identity. He doesn't want to be known as uh, Jeffrey Manchester in the movie. He ends up teaming and tagging along with this guy named Steve, and also Juno Temple, uh, who also plays Steve in the film. And Lakeith Stanfield gives a really good performance as well in the film. But I'll talk about him in a minute. But let me just start off with Channing Tatum because this is more of a return to form for him, as I hadn't seen him in a lot of films as of lately. He did a phenomenal job, a phenomenal performance as Jeffrey Manchester, and I think he should kind of get more recognition for it. Kirsten Dunst as Lay Wayne Waycott, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, she did a really good job. And Lakeith Stanfield had a really outstanding performance as Steve. You know, he was not really as much in the film as you would like. Peter Dinklage, he plays this other character in the film who actually is the store manager. Yeah, who actually plays the film as the store manager, Mitch Magner, and he really does a good job as well. There's a lot of cast. There's a lot of really good B, and C list cast members in here that really did a solid job and a solid performance. The comedic one-liners, especially in the beginning, were really really impressive, and were really delivered well. I really do like the story a lot. I think it really was told well throughout. And as you saw, Jeffrey Manchester was drinking a lot of dumb decisions, causing alarms. He was robbing the store that he was actually staying in, and actually looking at the hidden security cameras and camera footage of the place that he was robbing in, and that was just insane. And he ended up having to owe 50K for alternately trying to change his name, uh, passport, identity, had a hair and makeup, all that image. He had to owe 50K to this guy, Steve, played by Lakeith Stanfield, in order for him to, like, continue to live this sort of other lifestyle, this double life, as his whole thing is about to close in on him, because the feds are after him. His name is being reported in the news, and he constantly ends up breaking the law in order for him to try to get by, in order for him to continue to make cash. So yeah, this movie is absolutely really really silly and goofy in a lot of other ways, but it's very and highly entertaining. The only thing I would say is it does get redundant in the second half. So yeah, that would be my main criticism for it. So my three pros is the acting from Channing Tatum, Kirsten Dunst, and Lakeith Stanfield and Peter Dinklage. All the acting performances are really solid. The music is a second pro, and then the third pro, as I would say, is the story. The main negatives, the main criticism I have, biggest cons I would say, is the runtime, and I feel like the pacing in the second half, where I feel like it does continue to drag a little bit further than what it should be. But other than that, I would say it's a solid film. I give it 3 out of 4 stars. Definitely recommend and check it out. See it in your local theaters. Take your girl to go see it. It's something that I would definitely recommend for you guys to watch. So yeah, other than that, that is my thoughts and Roofman. Tell me whether you guys go and see it or not. Um, Let me know down in the comment section down below. As I am gonna get on out of here. I'm out. Peace. Like, share, and subscribe. And let me know what you think about Peacemaker Season 2. And let me know what you think about Roofman. All right.